So today, as you can tell by the title of the video, we're going to talk about strikes. Y'all know when I do these videos, I like to just get right into it and not just be blabbering. So let's go ahead. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is what is a strike. It's based very simple. Typically, it is, I don't even want to say typically, it is a hospital that has a union for their staff, particularly their nurses. Doctors can be unionized too, but for the sake of what we are, nurses, I'm just going to speak about nurses. So a hospital will have a union. The staff will be unsatisfied with something. It'll be ratios, pay, acuity of how they receive patients, things like that. All the stuff that we are concerned about in the regular nursing world. Their union will fight for them to get adequate whatever. But before they can get it, if the hospital isn't willing to just give it to them, then they go on a strike. They cross the, I think they crossed the line. I think it's them crossing the line, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Anyway, the point is they give the hospital notice. You have to get a hospital notice before you can just dip out, because obviously this is a business and patients have to be taken care of. There has to be somebody to replace them while they go and fight for the things that they want. And so then that's where somebody like myself will come in. A nurse who does not work in a hospital, who is not under their union, will come in and replace them while they get what they want. Now, it sounds like a good thing, but the nurses, I'm not going to say all of them, but they believe that the nurses who are in the union and fighting for things think that we are, by us coming along, we're being counterproductive, because I believe what they would like to happen is they would want the hospital to feel like y'all need us, so just give us what we want or shut down. That's not feasible. We know that the medical world is a business. Patients have to be taken care of, even not just the patients that are there, but the patients that are going to keep coming. And so the staff sometimes will feel a certain way about you doing it. They call us scabs, whatever. Child, listen, don't hate the player, hate the game is how I feel about it. Well, we can get into that or discuss it in the comments about how people feel about us, but that's not the preface of this video. I want to talk to y'all about what strike nursing is and how to get on. So the next part is, how do you become a strike nurse? Okay, so next, a lot of people in the groups always, like when I say groups, I mean like my Facebook groups. A lot of these questions I'm going to be answering are things that I just continuously see in the Facebook groups. And one of the things that I see is, how do I sign up to be a strike nurse? It is very simple. If you have ever been a travel nurse, and it is literally the same exact process. A lot of these companies who do travel contracts are the same companies who do strike nursing. So USN is under like fast staff, but USN does their, no, USN is over fast staff, I believe. But anyway, they're all affiliated, and USN particularly does strikes. You have ProLink, you have Rapid Staff, you have Hubmaster. Just do a quick Google search of like the most popular strike agencies, and you apply the same way that you apply with a travel contract. Now, I will say a big difference, or I've only worked with USN, so I can only speak with them. I don't know about ProLink and Huffmaster and all of those things, but with USN, you don't have a recruiter. So you will just go on the site, you will apply for the particular strike that you are looking into in the position, and then somebody will reach out to you, or you'll get like some type of email to tell you this is how you need to get into the basic compliance. I always say recommend like having your profile up to date, so that when a strike does come, that they look at it as like, okay, we don't have to have her or him do anything. We can just get them on board and get them ready to work. So when I just left my last strike, I didn't have to get into compliance at all, because I was on with that particular agency on a previous strike, and so everything was up to date. But she'll do drug tests, she'll do a physical. Sometimes they have declinations for like maybe a flu shot or something like that. It just depends on the facility that you work at. But also too, I will say that if you are not in compliance, typically you will have time to get into compliance before the strike starts. And then whatever you don't get done, they have an induction and you can get those things done. I've seen people do physicals, drug tests, get shots, like maybe a TB test or something like that. They can get all of those things done at induction. Some people kind of get like frustrated or flustered, like, oh, I'm not gonna be able to get things done in time. Like, they do remember, they have to give a notice. Once they give notice, then that's when the strike agencies will start reaching out to you saying, hey, are you available to work? And then you'll have time to get some of these things done. But whatever you don't, you can literally get done at the induction period when you're at the strike, like right before it starts. So like I said, it's typically the same thing, except for with USN, you don't have a recruiter. It's just like random, I don't want to say random people, but they're a part of the agency. They're reaching out to you, and you go through like a phone line. I find it easier to text them than to actually call them and be waiting on the line. They respond a lot faster through text. But it's just people who work for the agency answering all your questions, making sure you're in compliance. They'll send you emails. It's the same exact thing if you've ever worked a travel assignment. You apply for wherever the strike is at, and then you get into compliance. Now, when it comes to striking and getting picked, I say it's just like a random luck of the draw. People, I'm saying this to say because people be like, oh, can I just be a strike nurse? I'm going to say no, because it is very random. You can literally get onto a strike and they cancel 30 minutes before it's time for you to show up to your shift. And that means you do not get paid. Now, you're getting paid for induction, orientation, all of those things. That's not a lot of money, though. So it's not guaranteed at all. When I say literally, I believe the Hawaii strike, they canceled that strike, flew all of those nurses out there, got them into their hotel, did induction, did orientation. And I believe a couple hours before it was time for them to show up for their first shift, they settled. So it's not guaranteed money. However, when you do get on it and it does go through, it is great money. But it's not something that I would say bank on. Like if you said, oh, I just want to be a travel nurse, you could just be a travel nurse. But to say that I just want to do strikes, I don't think that that's feasible. Now, you can do strikes and maybe travel, strikes and have a PRN, but to just specifically do strikes, no. I just would not count on that money, because again, these hospitals can settle right up until the time is before you leave. Also, too, it's not guaranteed that you are going to get picked for a strike. I went on an organ strike. The first time they had the strike, I had my organ license ready and I did not get picked. The second time I had my license ready and I got picked. My friend who's been had her license before I had mine, she got picked for the first one, but she didn't get picked for the second one. And the second one went for 4 rounds and they never called her for any of the rounds. So it really is a luck of the draw. I mean, I guess unless you know somebody, maybe you can get in. But also too, the more that you work with a particular agency on a strike, the more chances you have of them calling you again for another strike. And so I would just say be patient. If you are able to go, go. I also will say, because people are like, oh, in the groups, like, should I quit my contract? Should I quit my job? I ain't gonna tell you what to do. I personally did quit a contract, and it just happened to work in my favor, but I do not suggest people do that, because it could have not worked in my favor. Like, I could have canceled, and then they canceled, and then I'm just out of a job. You really just gotta, like, test your luck with it, is how I say, because sometimes it will work out and sometimes it won't. I had a friend who went on me. She actually quit her staff job to do it. It just happened to work out for us. We didn't know that strike ended up going for a month and a half. We had no clue how long it was gonna go. They said indefinite, but they could have settled within the first week. So you really just have to look at your situation and say, can I gamble my job that I currently have, or gamble my current contract that I have? Like, nobody else can tell you that but you. I had a conversation with God and I said, listen, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen. Let's make this decision. And it ended up working out for me, but it could have not worked out for me. So that's why I say, don't cancel. I'm not gonna tell you to cancel your job, and I'm not gonna tell you not to. I'm just going to say, use your best judgment. That's all I can say. Because I don't even think my judgment was the best, because again, it could have not worked in my favor, which goes back to, again, strikes are not always guaranteed. Like, they literally can settle right before you go. So let's get into the structure of strikes and how it, like, the process of it. All right, so there are 3 main components to strike. First, you get the notice saying, okay, we've accepted you, you're going to be on this strike. Then maybe it's 4 parts. Then they'll send you things saying, basically, this is what you need to be into compliance. Once you get into compliance, or if you're not into compliance, you get flown out there, or you can drive to wherever the location is, and then you have induction. That's the first part of it. Induction is basically where will you be staying at, asking you, you know, clarifying that we have you on the right unit in the sense of like specialty. Um, if you want to work days or nights, or if they switch you, that's the thing about strike nursing too. You have to be flexible. You can't come on there talking about something, I only work days, and then they put you on nights. Child, you'll be out of there. Unless you can find somebody to switch with, then I know at USN they do allow that, but they're not gonna find somebody for you. Like, you need to find a person, y'all need to go together and then get that figured out. But don't go there trying to be picky. Listen, this is a time for you to get to the bag. When I say the bag is good, it's wonderful. So you can sacrifice not working a certain shift for a certain amount of weeks or days or even months, because the money is going to make it worth it, if you catch my drift. But you go to an induction, you'll get told where your hotel is at, what units you'll be on, what shift, you know, you'll be working. You can do, they'll do like your I-9 taxes and stuff there, if you didn't do it. Also, I'm trying to think, can I think of, what else do you do in induction? I believe that's pretty much it. You basically just get there and you get situated. Anything that you didn't do before you came will be taken care of there. Orientation. Now, there are two parts to orientation. You have modules, which typically they will have you do before you come in, and they don't pay a lot. Their modules, from my experience, hasn't been that extensive. Like, it's something that you could probably do on a plane, or do like right before you go or something like that. But don't do it have a good enough amount of time to do it, because you don't want to have to do it when you get there, or something happens where you didn't do it and now that's another issue. But you do your modules, and then you do the hospital orientation. Our hospital orientation is like a full day. You go in, basically they teach you about whatever their policies and procedures are, like hospital wide, and then specific to your unit, like if you're in labor and delivery, or the ED, or ICU, or med surge. You'll get to learn their machines, like their pumps and the bladder scanner, glucometer, those type of things. And then you'll get your login information for that particular facility, and at the end of everything you will get a badge. That's orientation. That's typically an all-day thing, and for USN they did provide lunch. So that's that. And then at the orientation, typically the next, depending on when they hold orientation and depending on when you get there, because they'll give you a set amount of days that you can get there. Typically like a weekend or 2 to 3 days, you'll be able to pick when you want to come in. Then you'll do induction, then you'll do orientation. And then if the strike commences, meaning the strike goes on, then you'll start working. So that's the extent of how the process goes. You get accepted, you do your modules, you fly or drive there, you do your induction, then you do your orientation, and then you actually go to the hospital and work. Hope that makes sense. So a lot of people like to know, I'm looking at my notes just so I make sure I don't forget anything. A lot of people like to know, like, what does accommodations look like? So in my experience, I have had very nice hotels. The last one that I stayed in was like a 4.5 star. It was really nice. I had no complaints, with the exception of that they didn't have a microwave, but I think that's just the norm for a lot of hotels. They want you to spend money, and so they don't put the microwaves in there. I could have asked one, but it was like first come, first serve, but I wasn't tripping about that. Like, I stayed in a really nice hotel. There are some people who do not stay in nice hotels. Now, they're not gonna have you in a Motel 6, but they may have you in something that's not as upgraded or hasn't been upgraded in a long time. And for people like me, I don't like stuff like that. And so I'm so thankful that I did not get placed in one of them. But if I did, I think I just would have stayed, because it's like, okay, you're only here, you're not here forever. Like, you can bite the bullet. But I know some people who were staying in hotels that they just did not like. Like, they were staying in a DoubleTree, and I guess DoubleTree is supposed to be nice, but that particular one was not upgraded. It was old, it was small, it just looked dirty and dingy, and they don't really do anything about it unless it's like something serious. Like, it's like you have to take that up with the hotel. So if you don't like your room, then you reach out to the hotel staff and see if they can change you into a different room. But USN is not, they were not willing to like change your hotel room because you thought it was old or you thought it was dingy and dirty. Like one girl, she was sending them pictures and everything. She said she had bed bugs. I don't know if she truly had bed bugs, but the point I'm making is that they never changed it. But you can get some really nice accommodations, or maybe some really not nice accommodations. I don't think they will put you in anything, like I said, like a Motel 6. It's still going to be a hotel. It may not be to like the type of luxury that you are used to if you are that type of person. With USN, you also get your own room. I know that there are other agencies. I believe ProLink. Go, somebody correct me because I think I might be wrong. They make you share your rooms, and you share with somebody who's on the opposite shift of you. Even if somebody was on the opposite shift of me, I don't want to share. Like when I come home, you would never cross paths because of how the bus schedule is set up. So they would never actually be there unless it's like on your day off. But I don't want to share rooms with anybody. Unless it was somebody I knew personally, but if it's just somebody random, like no. And so I do appreciate that about USN. You do get your own room. Transportation is provided. You can bring your car if you want to. On the first strike I ever did, I did have my car with me. So on my days off, it was easy for me to just, maneuver around the city, or when I got off of work, if I had to go do something real quick, I would have my car. But if you don't have transportation, they just provide charter buses, and everybody get on one bus at one time for whatever hospital you're going to or for the particular hotel. Y'all meet outside, you get on the bus, and then they take you there. Typically, you have to leave like maybe 30 minutes early to get there, depending on weather and traffic and all of that stuff, but they do provide transportation. So they pay for your hotel and they pay for your transportation. And that's one reason why I like it, because you're pocketing all of that money. Versus with travel nursing, you either have to pay for, depending on like where you're at, but typically you have to pay for transportation unless you do public transportation, and you have to pay for housing. I didn't have to pay for any of that because they're paying for the hotel and they're also paying for transportation. There were days that I would Uber around, but where they had us at, it was like a walkable city. So I was walking to the grocery store a lot of times. So I rarely had to Uber or anything like that. But that is one of the great things about strike, is those things are paid for. Hope that makes sense. Also, I forgot to mention flights and driving. So when I was in California, I drove to the strike, so they will pay you to drive. It's a max amount of miles. It's probably like 1,400 and some change. And then also they'll pay for your flight. And I don't mean, so when you drive, you get reimbursed. So you'll pay for your gas if you had to rent a car or whatever, and they'll just reimburse you for the max, depending on what like you put for your mileage. And then for the flight, they basically send you a website where you go on there, you book it yourself. You don't have to pay for anything, and you get your flight. There's no reimbursement or anything like that. It's just already paid for. You just pick based on what your schedule looks like and what they tell you the time that you need to be out there. So I do like that as well. I've done both. I've driven and gotten reimbursed, and then I've also flown, and then they just pay for the ticket. So I think that was pretty much it. I've covered everything about shifts, hotel accommodations, how do you get picked for strikes, how do you sign up for strikes, what is a strike. I think I pretty much covered everything. Y'all let me know if I missed anything. I did not talk about pay. Let me know if y'all want me to do a separate video so that I can show y'all, particularly for this strike. Any strike I think is good. But so that we could talk about what the pay looks like and how much I got paid on this last strike that I did. And I'll show y'all like an actual check of what it looks like, because y'all know I don't mind talking about money. This was a great come up for me, and that's why I wanted to come tell y'all, so that even if you don't get picked, like you are in the know of that it's money to get out here. And just kind of have an idea of like how to maneuver through the strike world. But let me know if y'all want me to do a separate video on pay and show y'all what one of my actual checks looks like and how they pay you for induction. Because you get paid for induction, you get paid for orientation, you get paid for your modules, and then you obviously get paid to work. Also, I can show y'all a contract too. I sound like I'm from Baltimore. I can show you guys a contract too, that basically says like, well, this is what your guarantee hours are if they do end the strike or on the first week and thereafter, and what a schedule looks like. I want to kind of give y'all that in a separate video because I don't want to make it long, but just let me know if y'all want to see that first, and then I'll probably put that out next week. So let me know if y'all have any questions. Y'all know I love doing videos like this because I just love to put y'all on. I consider myself a new nurse, but this is all new to me. Like, striking world is all new to me. I've heard of it, but I've finally got the opportunity to do it. So hearing one thing and doing it is two different things. And so I just like to bring y'all my experience so that we can chat about it. Y'all know I love talking to y'all in the comments. I hope this video was informative. And until next time, I will see y'all in another.